Bitcoin has likely already topped out and has been trending lower for the past 2 months. Market structure has shifted, momentum is fading, and sentiment has slowly started to change. But here is where things get interesting and where a lot of people are likely gonna get a bit confused. We are slowly approaching levels where we could see Bitcoin get a counter-trend rally. A move to the upside on the surface might look like strength. A move that could convince a lot of people that the bull market is still here and the cycle isn't over yet. And that belief makes sense because we haven't seen that euphoria phase like we have seen in every other cycle. There was no true blow-off top, no retail mania, no moment where it almost felt like Bitcoin and the entire crypto market could never go down. But history also shows that we might not need that euphoria phase. And more importantly, these bear markets can start with a drop and then get that counter trend rally that convinces the people that are still bullish that the cycle isn't over. So in today's video, I want to break down why a counter trend rally is likely from here, what levels matter if it happens, 2 historical scenarios that closely match the current structure, and why despite a small bullish possibility, the data still points towards a bear market into 2026. So let's start with the bigger picture. If we zoom out on Bitcoin's weekly time frame, the momentum shift becomes clear. Bitcoin has been in a downtrend for the past few months, and right now the price is no longer aggressively selling, it is more consolidating. And consolidation on the weekly time frame usually means one thing: the market is preparing for its next major move. From here, I think there are 2 realistic short-term possibilities. The first possibility is we push a bit lower, down to around $75,000 to $80,000 before we get a counter trend rally. The second scenario is where we just stay at where we are currently at and get a counter trend rally from here. Now there are still plenty of people that don't think the cycle is over and Bitcoin and the entire market hasn't topped yet. And to be clear, of course that's not impossible, and there are likely some coins that are gonna hit new all-time highs. Markets don't owe us textbook outcomes. But when you combine indicators, sentiment, historical cycle behavior, they are all pointing towards a bear market in 2026. And that's where these counter trend rallies can become dangerous, because they often convince those people that think the cycle isn't over that they're gonna rally into new all-time highs, but it's not gonna go as high as they think, and then they get that deeper pullback after. So why does a counter trend rally make sense here? Counter trend rallies are completely normal in bear markets. Markets of course don't move straight down, they move more in waves. After a strong decline, the short positions are gonna start taking profits, sellers start to get exhausted, late bears get overconfident, and buyers step back in thinking that they're early. That combination often produces a relief rally. If Bitcoin does start to rally from here, the most likely target before we hit resistance is the bull market support band. Historical in bull markets, this has acted as support, and in bear market it acts as resistance. If we rally into that band and we don't reclaim it, that would strongly support the idea of this being a counter trend rally and not a continuation of the bull market. And this exact behavior has played out before. The first historical comparison I want to look at is in 2022, which is of course the most recent cycle and the one that looks the most like the one we have had here. In that cycle, the top was already in, the bear market had started, price dropped but didn't immediately sweep the absolute low. Instead, Bitcoin rallied up into the bull market support band before it found resistance, and then it rolled over into deeper downside. So if we follow a similar pattern from here, then Bitcoin could rally from the current levels that we are at right now and then reach the bull market support band before it gets rejected and hits lower. That would allow for a counter trend rally without sweeping the lows, which is something markets often do to trap both bulls and bears. The second scenario I want to talk about 2019. The reason why 2019 is important and we are comparing to it, because similar to 2025, we didn't top because of euphoria. Sentiment was mixed and a lot of people think that the bull market was still on back then. So in that scenario, we sweep the lows. That sweep aligned with what I would consider a cheap zone. Then Bitcoin rallies strongly into the bull market support band, and after that the market rolled over again. So if we see that outcome, we could see Bitcoin go down to $75,000 to $80,000, which would align with the cheap zone I use based off the color system I have. That would potentially offer a short-term possibility, of course not financial advice, before we then see a counter trend rally play out. I think both scenarios are very possible, and both of them have that target of the bull market support band before hitting lower. And if we see this counter trend rally, I'm personally looking to take a good amount of profit when we reach around that bull market support band level. That way I can build a larger cash position as we head lower into 2026, possibly of course. Now I don't want this video to be one-sided because the markets often don't reward the certainty. There is still a possibility that the bull market is on, but I would say that would be like 30% chance of continuing. To explore that, we can compare Bitcoin to the stock market, specifically stocks like Nvidia and Google on the weekly time frames. When you overlay Nvidia's weekly structure onto Bitcoin's weekly time frame, the similarity is surprisingly strong. A sharp move up, a corrective phase, a consolidation before continuation. That bullish scenario also includes a sweep of the lows, which again support that idea of these lower levels being good buy opportunities if we hit that low. The same structural similarity happens when you compare Google to Bitcoin's weekly time frame. And these comparisons actually make sense because both Bitcoin, Nvidia and Google are all influenced by global liquidity, interest rate, risk appetite and so on. That's why their long-term trends and major turning points often align on the bigger time frames. And here you could also make the argument that Bitcoin has been underperforming because of the gold envy. So a recovery phase where Bitcoin plays catch up is not impossible. But again, this is the most unlikely scenario in my opinion. I want to be very clear here. Most indicators, sentiment and historical patterns are pointing towards a bear market in 2026. I have covered those signals in other videos, so I'm not going to go too deep into the details with it. But what matters is how you position yourself. For me personally, I DCA no matter what. That never stops. If we sweep that low and get to what I would consider a cheap zone, I allow myself to buy a bit more than what I would usually DCA. And if we rally into that bull market support band, I'm looking to take a lot of profits, still keeping a lot of crypto of course, but building a bigger cash position. I'm not trying to predict the markets. I'm trying to structure my decisions so I'm prepared for multiple outcomes. Of course, I would just love for Bitcoin to go on to new all-time highs. Everyone would, but being realistic is what keeps you in the game long enough to benefit when these opportunities arrive. So here are my final thoughts. The market's job isn't to make things obvious. It's to confuse as many people as possible. Countertrend rallies are exciting but can be really dangerous because it gives people back that hope. So stay patient, manage risk, think in possibilities and not in predictions. The goal isn't to be bullish or bearish, it's to be here when the real opportunities arrive. If you found any value in this breakdown, remember to like and subscribe and comment down below what you think is gonna happen. I love to hear from you guys and there's more videos coming. Happy New Year, and I'll see you in the next one.